So Vena Insights, again, is fully productized in the Vena application where we leverage Microsoft's AI ecosystem to be able to provide out-of-the-box dashboards, exactly as you're seeing here. Very similarly in Excel, we have these different perspectives of my executive summary looking at financial, operational type data as well. But now we're using a lot of very advanced analytics through Azure machine learning to be able to generate some very cool insights here. So here, if I look at the executive summary as an example, so here's my first kind of homepage, if you will. And now what I'm looking at is on the left-hand side here, you'll see the exact same dimensions as we saw in all of those Vena Excel reports. So for entity, I can see the full list here. And maybe, I just want to take a look at my US entities. So once I make the selection, everything here in the dashboard will update automatically. But let's start with the select all kind of position. And also here on the left-hand side, one concept is we have this idea, what we call a base scenario and a comparison scenario. So based on what I select here, this could be forecast to actuals, my forecast to a what-if scenario is based on these two selections here. Things like my growth percent, my variance percent will always be with respect to that base and comparison scenario. And for those two, I can select for what time period am I looking at, for what currency, and what have you. So here, lots of different very cool views. I can take a look at this example of a heat map or a map of looking at for all my different locations. These bubbles kind of show what my revenue weight is for each of the entities. But I can, right-click on North America. I can drill down on that. And now I see a view of all the locations within North America, and also all my KPIs and charts around me updated automatically as well. If I can see New York is the highest, I just hover over that. And right away here, you can see, I see a breakdown of New York and all my different revenue accounts. Of course, my product sales is the highest, but also here I have some, what's called in Microsoft, in their AI ecosystem with Power BI, is their smart narrative. So now it automatically starts to generate insights into that information around seasonality, around trends of the data, and right away gives me some very cool visuals and analytics around that. So just very quickly, as I kind of scroll through here, across revenue, we're going to see some very cool insights here. Having these decomp trees where I can click between different cities and locations and start to break down the breakdown across my different dimensions. I'll quickly come here to OpEx, where OpEx, here's a very cool example of what's known as key influencers, where again, what will happen here is using Microsoft's AI ecosystem, it churns through all the Vena data across all of our dimensions, all of our data sets, and starts to identify, in this example, for my forecast scenario, what are the influencers that will drive my OpEx up to increase, or I can say to decrease as an example. But what we can see here, start to identify certain areas. I can see sales is a department that here visually we can see is above an average across all my different departments. So maybe I want to do a focus on sales, click on that, see everything update automatically. And here I can see a very big variance on my telecom subscriptions, and this will show exactly what the year-over-year growth percentage. And maybe here's an indication that, wow, this is a huge growth. I need to go ahead and investigate to understand exactly why I have this high variance. And finally here, the last couple things I'll show is all things predictive analytics, so I can see anomalies in my data. Another example of that is within my Smart Narrative tab here. Where here again, for my actuals over a certain time period, I can see exactly where an anomaly is, that the system expected the value to be A, but it is actually value B. And I can click right on there, and now it starts to, again, churn through that data and starts to identify that, hey, maybe this is because of a certain location or certain department or certain account. And all this is really doing is I'm using machine learning and advanced technologies to take an abundance of data that I've collected through my strategic planning process and leveraging technology to highlight this information for me that otherwise would be a very manual, time-consuming exercise to be able to identify, if I even have the time to identify these anomalies when I have very rich and diverse data sets. And of course, I can start to type in some questions here in my Q&A box and what have you.